All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're going to do something really important. We're going to completely transform how you talk about your data projects. Seriously, we're moving away from just listing off tasks and learning how to tell a really compelling story about the impact you make. Okay, let's get right into it. You know this question. You've heard it a million times, right? In interviews, team meetings, talking to stakeholders. It seems so simple, but your answer can be the one thing that makes you either blend in with everyone else or truly stand out. Because this really is the million-dollar question. How you answer it is what separates a pretty good analyst from a great one. It shows more than just what you did. It pulls back the curtain on how you think, how you solve problems, and most importantly, how you create actual value. And today, we're going to break down exactly how to nail that answer. So here's the absolute key takeaway. We have to stop reciting our to-do list. I collected data, then I cleaned the data, then I made a chart. That's the process, sure, but it's not the story. The story is all about the why and the so what, the business value you actually delivered. So how do we build that story? Well, we use this incredibly powerful roadmap that every analyst should have in their back pocket, the data analysis lifecycle. Now, don't think of this as some boring checklist from a textbook. Think of it as the 6 essential chapters that give your project a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. And here they are, the chapters of our story. It always starts with the business problem. That's the why behind everything. From there, we move into the technical stuff, collection, preparation, and analysis. But it doesn't stop there, not even close. The story keeps going with how you communicate your findings, and this is so crucial, how you evaluate the outcome and think about the risks. Every single step builds on the last one to create a full picture. But, before we can build that perfect answer, we kind of need to understand what a weak one sounds like. So let's look at a few of these common traps that so many analysts fall into and really see why they just don't make an impact. Okay, so imagine you're in an interview and the assessor asks you this. Using the Hungry Now delivery service project as an example, how would you answer? There it is. This is such a common answer. And look, it's not technically wrong, but it's totally generic. It tells the listener almost nothing about what you actually did or how you thought through the problem. So let's break down why this answer fails so badly. For one, it's just vague. But more importantly, it completely skips the most critical steps, like why you were even doing the project. And it never, ever connects back to the business value. It just shows process, not impact. Okay, next up, here's a follow-up question. And this one is really designed to test your professionalism. We all know deadlines are real, so how do you handle that pressure? Okay, this one is a major red flag. I get that it might sound honest, but what it really tells an interviewer is that you're totally willing to cut corners and compromise the quality and integrity of your work. And this just spells out the danger, right? It screams that professional standards aren't your top priority. It shows you don't even think about the risks of delivering bad or incomplete insights. An answer like this just completely undermines your own credibility. All right, enough of what not to do. Let's totally flip the script. Now we're going to look at how a top-tier analyst takes these exact same questions and turns them into an amazing story of competence and real value. So let's go back to that first question about the Hungry Now project. Same scenario, but this time, let's listen to the pro-level answer. Wow. Just listen to the difference there. It's night and day. This story starts with the why, the business problem of driver shortages. It names specific data sources. It even gets technically specific, mentioning regression analysis. And then it finishes by showing real maturity, talking about the dashboard, but also flagging the project's risks. That right there is a complete and compelling story. And just look at this breakdown. It hits every single stage of the life cycle. It's grounded in a real business need. It proves technical skill by naming the methods used, and it shows incredible maturity by acknowledging risks. This is the absolute definition of a top-tier answer. Okay, now for the real pressure test. Let's see how a pro handles that tough question about a tight deadline. Now that is a fantastic answer. It draws a clear line in the sand. Some steps, like defining the problem, are non-negotiable. Then it offers a smart, practical strategy, automation, to be more efficient. And finally, it shows a real commitment to transparency by documenting assumptions. It's perfect. Here's exactly why that works so well. It shows you have high professional standards and that you're resilient. Instead of just saying, I work faster,
It gives a concrete example of how, through automation. It proves you can be both fast and rigorous, which is exactly what employers want to see.
So, we've seen the bad and we've seen the great. Now let's boil all of this down into a simple, repeatable formula that you can start applying to every single one of your projects starting today. And here it is, your blueprint for a winning story. Number 1, always anchor in the problem, because context is everything. 2, walk through the whole life cycle to show your process is structured and complete. 3, name your methods and tools to prove you know your stuff. 4, connect everything back to the business outcome to show you create value. And 5, acknowledge the risks to show you're a mature, strategic thinker. This is your formula. And please remember, the goal here isn't to memorize a script. That's not it at all. The goal is to internalize this framework so it just becomes a natural way you think about and talk about your work. That's what shows genuine expertise and confidence. So the next time somebody asks you about your project, you're going to be ready. You have the roadmap, you have the formula. The only question left is, what powerful story is your data going to tell?